Hi everyone. So I made a previous video on PCC and decided that I would make a part 2 about how I got kicked out and the procedures behind that. As I stated in my earlier video, I was booted because me and my girlfriend decided to leave and search for an apartment to live in. However, I didn't really go super into detail about how it happened since a PCC rep specifically told me not to talk about the incident publicly. So let's get started. So when we were first called into student life, we already had a good idea what it was going to be about. We had just gone off campus, then like 5 minutes later got an email saying that we had a student life meeting. So, I mean, it didn't really take a rocket scientist to figure out what was going on. However, when I got to my residence hall, my residence manager confronted me and told me I needed to go to student life first thing in the morning. Now, that wasn't going to work for me because I still have my North Carolina driver's license and I had an appointment at the DMV tomorrow to get it transferred to a Florida license. And getting appointments at the DMV was, it was just next to impossible. So I told the RM that it wasn't going to work for me, and he basically said, too bad. Student life meetings aren't optional. And I just said, well, it's a Saturday and you're on my time now, and I have things I need to do, so you can schedule me for 8 a.m., but I'm not showing up. Typically, I wouldn't have said this, but I was 99% sure I was going to get kicked out anyways, so I figured, what the heck. Apparently, though, what I said worked because they scheduled me for later in the day. But after I got my Florida driver's license, later that day, I went to student life, and they had Mr. Blackburn and Mr. Dawson there. Now, I stated in my earlier video that I had some issues with Mr. Doss, and I was not happy to see him there. But my girlfriend, I found out, was also called up to student life, and they took our phones away as well as our Apple Watches. And their reasoning was, we don't want either one of you influencing each other, which is kind of funny because we were already planning to leave. That's the whole reason we got kicked out of PCC. So it's not like we didn't already talk about this before we got here, but whatever. Anyways, they basically laid out the accusation, and when I asked about who said that accusation against me, all they said was a staff member and refused to tell me who it was. Now, I understand this doesn't apply in this scenario, but in the real world, not PCC land, people have a constitutional right to face their accuser. However, what the student life reps didn't know was that I knew we had been followed. Because of my vaping addiction and some encounters I had with them before, I had a real target on my back, and an unnamed student life rep, and I'm keeping them anonymous because they were really nice and helpful, and they were cool, actually told me I had a target on my back. I had actually talked to a lawyer about being stalked off campus like that and was told that it is illegal no matter what they say about it in their rule book. The way he put it was they can make up whatever rule they want. They can say you have to sell pot on the street corner from the hours of 4 to 8 p.m., but that doesn't mean it's legal. PCC doesn't make the laws, nor are they above them. However, you can try to sue, but most likely you'll be wasting your time and you'll lose. PCC actually has won out about 99% of their lawsuits, either through settlements or because they were unaccredited and were exempt from some things. So, accreditation isn't all about rules. They do have to follow some rules, but it's not all about following rules. It's basically a certification to the schools saying this place can provide a useful, reasonable education, which I can tell you right now, that's not true at all. 99% of the teachers there are just really incompetent, and I know that sounds conceited, but we were at such a slow pace that it was ridiculous. I was learning things in my 7th week that I should have been learning in my 2nd week. So, yeah, there's that. Kind of went off on a tangent there, but back on track. I wasn't going to lie to them. Even if I had, they wouldn't believe me anyway, because at PCC, you're guilty until proven innocent. And I laid out exactly what we were doing. They stated the off-campus rules saying we broke them, and I asked, so if we want to go look at an apartment that we plan to live in, we have to look at it separately and talk about it afterwards on campus? And they said yes. Now, how they said yes with a straight face, I'm not even sure, because I actually started laughing. And Mr. Doss was like, there's nothing funny about this. But anyways, they asked if I wanted to go through a judicial review, which is basically you sit in front of a bunch of old men and they read you your sins, and then they just basically let you say your piece, and then they make a decision whether or not you get to stay. And since we were planning to leave anyway, I was kind of just like, well, there's no point, because even if they let me stay, we're still leaving. So there was no point. There's no point in that. So they scheduled me and my girlfriend another student life meeting the next day to finalize our withdrawal. And yeah, they were nice enough to let me withdraw first so that on my record it didn't show me as being expelled. But they had a motive behind that. So during that meeting, the final meeting, they also tried to take my phone. But I told them it would be just fine sitting in my pocket, and they said it would be just as fine sitting on the secretary's desk. And they kept insisting that I was going to give my phone to them, and I just basically said the only way my phone's coming out of this pocket is if you come over here and grab it, and if you do, this meeting ends here and now, and I'm calling my lawyer. And that seemed to put them in their place, and they let me keep my phone. Another interesting thing is that they would not let me take notes about the meeting. I brought my laptop with me to take notes, and even a notepad and pencil if they tried to BS me about you can't have your computer out during a student life meeting. And they wouldn't even let me use a notepad and pencil, so proof right there that they just really want no record of what's going on there. Anyways, after that meeting, I signed the withdrawal forms, and we were on our way. We got most of our stuff in order and had a place. I won't go into much detail about what happened right after we left campus, since it really is irrelevant to PCC and has nothing to do with them. However, I will go on past that. Several weeks later, as I stated in my earlier video, we both received a bill in the amount of $3,000, stating that we owe them for the rest of the semester. Now, I was just going to let this whole thing go, because I'm not a resentful person. And big deal. Since they decided that they were not only going to kick us out, but be greedy and try to get our money as well, I decided it was time for people to see what really went on at PCC. Sure, people don't know what they're getting into and they have a bad time and they can choose to leave whenever they want. However, when they don't have a choice in leaving, well, they do, but they're still going to pay and get a bunch of money cheated out of them. Then I just feel like I have to say something so that this doesn't happen to other college students. But, like I said, I'm not a resentful person. I don't cling to the past. However, in light of this bill, PCC basically just bought themselves some really bad advertising. I will not just stand by and watch college students be cheated out of thousands of dollars. And even if this video only gets one view, I can at least say that I helped one person. Really though, women, listen up for this part. I'd really advise you not to go there. They really do have it worse in the student life department as far as RAs, just student life in general. And the rules there are a lot worse. The RAs, they're much more strict. The student life reps just so much more cold. And overall, they just really give the students a bad time. I think PCC's biggest mistake in student life was putting students in student life. So they're putting students in power over other students, and that power kind of goes to their head and they abuse it. RAs, for the women, are also much more thorough. Your RA comes through for every church service, guys and girls, to make sure that you are going to church. Now, what I used to do, and since my roommate's not there anymore, I can tell this story. I used to have him take my ID card, tap for attendance, and hide in a little cubby, because I can fit just about anywhere, and roll a suitcase in front of me. They never found me for the entire time I was there. However, the girls would check everywhere. They would practically flip your room upside down. I will say this about PCC, it's for some and not for others. I think 99% of the people who are from PCA, which is the K through 12, actually enjoyed it there because it's really all they ever knew. They don't really know how to think for themselves. PCC doesn't really, it says in their slogan, empowering Christian leaders. They're empowering Christian followers. That these people don't know how to think for themselves, and it's nice for them because they get to spend the next 4 years having someone think for them. A lot of the students there, I also think, are forced together by their parents and didn't really have a say in the matter. I knew a few people like that who I talked to about leaving, and they basically said that if they did what we did, their parents would disown them. Um, Dr. Shoemaker, I think, is trying to make some changes for the better, but I also understand it is really difficult for him because there are a bunch of bureaucratic old men sitting on the board still, keeping his hands tied. Um, just a side note, other weird thing student life did was make my girlfriend take off her Minnie Mouse ears on Valentine's Day because it was branded and a distraction to other students. And I suppose I could understand that if you were wearing it to class or something, but if you aren't in a class and you're just walking around campus, what really is the harm? I know for a fact if it was PCC merch, it would be just fine. It wouldn't be distracting. Also, just a fun side note for PCC students watching this, if you are a PCC student and you go to Hooters, show your student ID and they will give you a free t-shirt. But that is really all I have for now. I try to keep these videos pretty short, so I like to separate them into parts. And like I said, if even one person sees this video, I mean, hopefully I helped them. But good luck on your college search, and I really hope that this video helped you.